He's covered in fur, but stands erect, on his cloven hooves, though sometimes he has one cloven hoof and one human-like foot, a nod to his demonic origins. 2 devil horns sit atop his head, and a long, forked red tongue juts out of his mouth like a serpent. He's wrapped in chains and carries a sack or a basket that he fills with every naughty child he can find. He scoops up the screaming brats, stuffs them into a sack, and carries them back to his mountain lair, where he kills them and eats them. Come St. Nicholas Day, all the naughty children of the world are dead. So St. Nicholas is free to bring gifts to all the good girls and boys, because good children are all that's left.
Ho, 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 ho.
Join us for this episode of The Wandering Crow, where we discuss the pagan origins of Christmas and the monsters that come with it.
There is a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, pecking at it until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow Shadow ate her. Crow is dead Crow now. Join us as we attempt to look through the wandering crow's eye to find the gateway to the supernatural, to seek to know the unknowable mysteries of creation. Welcome to the Wandering Crow Podcast.
Hey murderers, welcome to our Christmas special.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
All right, this one, I had a lot of fun reading this, although I'll be honest, with work and travel on the horizon, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but I found a really excellent book. How did you guys find the research?
I did some, looking around, and pretty much the research for Krampus is pretty much the same around. There's some different variations, but I also got clued into the book that you talked about, and I read that and found that very interesting, and it has some very interesting historical stuff that I don't think anybody really, the mainstream people just don't know, at least here in the United States.
Yeah. Cameron?
So I got a couple of pages of history of Christmas and where it might have come from Roman mythology.
Yeah. Cool.
Because they had their own thing going on December 25th as well.
Yeah, I think that's we're definitely gonna talk about that, I think. So the book that JT and I used just to get this out there, and the book where our intro originated from, that actually was prose taken from this man's book. The book is called The Fright Before Christmas, Surviving Krampus and Other Yuletide Monsters by Jeff Belanger. And so I just want to make sure we give credit. We did not write that intro. That came from Jeff Belanger, but we did dramatize it and make it cool as fuck. So that was my main source for research, just to get that right out of the way. But okay, so one of the first things that Jeff talked about in the book was, Christmas. I think for most of us growing up, we're taught Christmas is a holiday that came about because somebody somewhere decided it was a really good idea to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And that's how Christmas started, right? And so we have all of these other things that just are incidental, but the main purpose of the holiday was always to celebrate Jesus. But one of the things that was pointed out, and actually I did learn about this in Sunday school, I remember this distinctly, was that Jesus probably wasn't actually even born in the winter. It was...
That is something I would like to bring up because, with the Mormons, they believe that he was born in April.
Yeah, that was what my
kind of what I heard too.
Yeah, it was probably in the spring, sometime around April, is what my Sunday
April
school teacher had said.
5th, to be specific. They believe he was born on April 5th.
That's interesting.
Don't know how they can be that specific with the way the calendars are, because we always thought that, I'm not up on the current calendar, CE, BCE, all that stuff. I remember BC and 80.
Yeah.
And now I'm confused as hell about the different, so
I mean, basically, AD and CE are essentially, for our purposes, although this is not exactly true, CE and AD are the same, basically.
Okay.
CE replaced AD.
Okay.
It just means common era. And BC was replaced by BCE, before common era. So BCE and CE is the new way that we're doing the years, and it's just there. It's, as far as I can tell, it's pretty much the same as what it was.
Yeah, and like the story of the wise men that bring gifts, like they traveled for months before they didn't visit him the night of his birth.
Right.
It was like months after that they visited him.
Yeah. I mean, so what is said is that because Jesus was a commoner, his birth was not recorded. Like the date of his birth, no one wrote that down anywhere. This is the date that this kid was born. And so the only clues that we really have are what's found in the Bible that talks about the shepherds watching their flock as like a passage in the Bible. And I mean, let's be real, shepherds are not going to be out there all night watching their flock in the dead of winter when it's snowing out and freezing.
No.
So that kind of gives us a clue that he wasn't actually born in wintertime. We
No.
can't really be more specific than that. So that's kind of interesting.
So something that goes along with that, something that I found interesting, and this comes from the book, if you really look at our holidays that we really have, several main holidays. Like if you would say the United States main holidays are Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, right? Pretty much. Oh, and Halloween. Halloween's a big one. And you've got Halloween and Thanksgiving that both kind of coincide with the solstice. Like Halloween is more kind of equinox celebration. Same with Thanksgiving. Or Thanksgiving. I take that back. Halloween is more like the equinox, like it's celebrating that type of time of year. Then Thanksgiving and Christmas are kind of celebrating that winter solstice. Like Thanksgiving specifically more like the end of the harvest. I mean, we all believe the story of the pilgrims, and that's where our Thanksgiving comes from. But there's also other holidays that exist throughout the world that are harvest-based parties because, okay, we've done all of our harvests. It's time to sit back, relax, party, eat our food, and drink our alcohol that we've made. We've been preparing for this time. And then, kind of Easter is that more of that spring solstice or the
I think it's
what's it
an
called?
Equinox, not a solstice.
There's another name for it. Can't remember what it's called. The equinox is the fall, and then the spring is, damn it, it's called something else. And then the solstice, you got the winter and the summer.
There's 2 equinoxes and 2 solstices.
Yes.
Spring equinox and the fall equinox.
But isn't the spring, there's another name for the spring equinox, though? Isn't there? Maybe not. I thought so.
The vernal equinox, is that what
The
you're
vernal,
looking for?
Maybe so, the vernal equinox. Anyway, the thing I like that he talked about, he specifically talked about the winter solstice. And if you really think about the winter solstice and what it was like, especially for kind of Europe and the northern parts of the world, it was a harsh time of year. It was rough, It's dark, it's cold. If you didn't prepare correctly and you succumb to this stuff, you would die.
Yeah.
Like it was rough. It makes sense that they would, make up some of these stories and have them be so dark and demonic. But there's parts of the world that didn't have any sun for several days, and then when they did have sun, it was like for like an hour. And that's why they would have these big parties, because, oh great, we're at the winter solstice. Oh, it's going to start to get light again. We're on the backslide of this horrible time. But
And just as a refresher, we talked about this with Halloween. The solstice is when, in the winter, it is the longest night and shortest day. And from that day forward, each night gets shorter and the days get longer. So
Right.
know it marks the return of warmer days. Not that tomorrow it's going to be warmer, but that it's not going to get any worse from here.
Right.
We're halfway through it.
This is the worst day.
Yeah, so I think that's, it makes it understandable why independently all over the world, different cultures would have similar celebrations around the same seasons, because we all experienced seasons. Obviously the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, it was like opposite, right? But they still have the seasons, the change of the seasons and that cyclical wheel. Right. So it makes sense that all around the world, in Rome and in the Nordic places and everywhere they have these winter celebrations, like these solstice celebrations.
And it wasn't until I believe it was Constantine that Christ's birth wasn't even celebrated until he was like, oh, we're going to just celebrate it on December 25th and have it be, this is when his birthday is celebrated. It doesn't matter that he was born at a different time. He just, this is when we're going to celebrate it. Yeah, that's
Constantine was the Caesar of Rome at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what's wild to me is, so I was reading about that, and as I thought about that, it was literally illegal to be Christian and to practice Christianity.
Right.
People would have their property taken away from them. And, that's, I forget that happens, and it happened pretty recently here for the Native Americans not being allowed to practice their indigenous belief systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's more an issue of, racism and a need for control and a desire to take people's land for them, right? Like that was an excuse. But I forget that because we live where we live, and we live in a time where anybody can pretty much practice whatever the hell they want and without repercussion, that there are places around the world where it was literally a punishable offense to not believe a certain way.
Right.
And that, I don't know what about that really, it just,
well, if you think about history in medieval times, a lot of the wars, there's the Crusades.
Yeah.
A lot of wars were religious wars. They were based on religion. I think even England, when they left the Catholic Church, they tried to eradicate other Christians and kill other Christians, and then for a time there.
How the Puritans supposedly came to the Americas was because they were escaping religious persecution.
Well, and that cartomancy that I do, my understanding is it came about as a way to hide their religion. Oh. Because they would have playing cards that they were using to read people's fortunes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm just using playing cards.
I'm just playing some cards. Yeah. I've heard that before. So I guess I knew all of that stuff in the back of my head, but it didn't really click for me until reading about this, and how suddenly, after the Council of Nicaea, when Christianity was illegal, was made legal, people were given back their property that had been confiscated from them. Like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Well, it's similar to a Mormon history. They were highly persecuted, but it was more kind of a political thing, because they would move into an area and it would change the politics of the area, and people didn't like it. And they're like, okay, you need to get out of my area, because you're messing with what's going on here. Yeah. And that's why they kept moving west, because people did not like what was going on with this weird belief system and stuff. Let's get back to Krampus.
Yeah, in 312 AD, otherwise known as CE, There's the Council of Nicaea by Constantine, who has decided he's going to go ahead and make Christianity legal. He also decides during this time we should celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Like, we should do that. That would be really cool. So what does he do? Because it's not recorded, because Jesus was a commoner, he says, you know what? I'm just going to pick a day that just makes the most logical sense. So what's the day he picked? Well, he picked Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus. And that is the day, and that actually was December 25th, and it was to celebrate the return of the sun. Sol Invictus was a holiday to celebrate the return of the sun. And so he said, okay, perfect. Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, it's the day of his birth. What better day to celebrate his birthday than the day of the return of the sun? It's perfect. Like, he felt like that was perfect. And additionally, there was already this other crazy holiday. So you have Saturnalia, which spans from December 17th to December 23rd. And then a couple days later, you've got December 25th, which is Sol Invictus. Now it's Jesus' birthday. So it turns into this great, big, long, extended party from December 17th all the way through December 25th. And it was a way to kind of blend in Christianity with the rest of Rome and what was celebrated. And Cameron, I think I heard you had a lot to say about Saturnalia, unless I was mistaken. That was something that you had wanted to talk about.
Well, so it's a celebration where people would give gifts. They would, have candles, cheap wines, fruits, nuts. So the fruits and nuts, that's still a thing today in Christmas, and obviously the gift giving. But so it's kind of funny because Saturn worship is very frowned upon in Christian beliefs.
It is. I didn't know that. I'd never even heard of Saturn mentioned. I actually had to look him up because I was like, who's Saturn? What god is Saturn?
Yet Saturday comes from Saturnalia.
Whoa. Okay. So, Saturnalia, what is it specifically? The first time anybody ever wrote about it was in the 5th BCE, 5 BCE. So the 5th year of before Common Era. But we think that probably this actual holiday was much, much older. And what it is it's a time to celebrate the previous season's harvest and honor the god Saturn for all of his blessings, right? So it's a harvest festival celebration. Yay, we worked hard, we got a good harvest, we're definitely going to survive the winter. Thank you, God Saturn. And what is the god Saturn? Who is he? He's the Roman god of agriculture. He's also associated with wealth, liberation, and time. Is it liberation or libation? Hold on.
Probably libation. Because I just see he's the
No,
god of agriculture who gave vegetation, fruitfulness all year round.
Mm-hmm. So I Google the god Saturn because I'm like, who is this dude? And guess what this guy looks like. Just guess. Can anyone guess? Traditionally, the god Saturn looks like this. Who is he? Okay, I two things immediately come to mind for me about the god Saturn. Anybody want to say?
Well, so he's listed as the father of gods, and he looks like the Christian god or Moses.
Do you know who else he looks like to me?
Santa Claus.
Dress him up in a red hat and a red suit, and he looks just like flippin' Santa Claus. This is a dude, and he was traditionally depicted as an elderly man with a long beard and curly silver hair. He's very stately looking in this particular picture. So Saturnalia, which became intertwined with the celebration of Jesus Christ, was the celebration to honor the god Saturn, who looks just like Santa Claus. And so I feel like it's really funny to see that and to think, okay, so what happened here was we turned Saturn into Santa Claus. We just took this old image of him and he just sort of mutated and became something different. So Saturnalia by itself, do you know what else I found really interesting about Saturnalia? It's supposedly during this time in Rome, the servants could do or say whatever they wanted for a whole week. They would have masters serving and dining with their servants. So, like, the roles were reversed. They would be dressed in festive clothes. Men would dress like women. Women would dress like men. Or you'd have people wearing these really wild, extravagant costumes. And like you said, Cameron, there was feasts, music, singing, parties, sex, gambling, and gift exchanges, which is where a lot of that came from. But in Rome, this was like the favorite holiday because it was this one beautiful week of freedom to do and say whatever was on your mind. And it was like this cultural pressure relief valve. And it kind of reminds me of the Purge, just slightly, except just without the murdering. So, like, I don't know, I just think that's funny that there was an actual holiday that did that, that allowed for that. And it was kind of like this necessary cultural thing to keep the masses happy and keep society rolling year after year. Yeah. And so the time of year for Saturnalia was important. Again, it honored the harvest, but also there was nothing else to do at that time of year. All of the hardest work is done. The harvests have already been harvested. The food has been prepped and stored. And the nights are very, very long. So it's not like you can go outside and do stuff in the daylight. You're kind of stuck indoors. So this is the time when you party.
And these parties would last for like a week.
Yeah.
And then, after the 17th through the 23rd, they also had another celebration for the New Year's that lasted a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So it was like this whole span.
Okay. So, all right. So we've talked about Saturnalia. And then, so here's some other interesting things. So what are some common symbols of Christmas time? Well, we've got the Christmas tree, which is not typically, it's always a pine tree, I think, right? Or like a fir.
Doesn't the pine tree part of it come from kind of the Germans?
It comes from the Norse. Okay, so this is so fun, you guys. This is so fun. Okay, so in the Nordic part of the world, you have days where you don't even see the sun come up, right? And it's bitterly awful cold with snow everywhere, and most trees go into a period of dormancy where they lose all of their leaves and they look dead in the winter. Yeah, this is the best. I'm so excited to tell this story. Cameron, are you ready? Because JT read this book, so he knows. Okay, so Yule was a celebration also of the harvest. We celebrating, and we've got nothing better to do, so let's get drunk and party because we had a good year and we'll probably survive. Well, when hunters, the Nordic people noticed that there were certain trees that did not go into dormancy, and they were green all year long, even in the hardest parts of the winter, and those were the evergreens. And so, therefore, it was believed that the evergreens had special power and they had magical significance. And this is true even now. There are cultures that believe this about certain plants, that they have strength and they can provide protection, and that these are basically God spirits. And so the Christmas tree comes from, they would actually take like branches and clippings from these trees and they would hang them over their doors and windows and around the house as an offering and as a protective element. So the piney needles, the sharp piney needles, and the fact that it's green and this is a very powerful magical tree will imbue some of its protection to my home if I put pieces of it in my home in an offering kind of way. So that's why we start having pine decorations in like, what's the word? What do we have? We have wreaths now. That's where all of that originated. Here's the best part. So when wintertime was coming and huntsmen went out and they would hunt, as they're field dressing the animal, as a kind of offering, they would pull out the guts and wrap it around the tree as a meaty garland.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes! A bloody, meaty garland to honor the tree and make an offering to the tree
Back
for
to
its
tradition.
protection. Yeah. And then, other birds, carry-on birds would come along and they'd peck at the meat and they'd eat it, and then you'd have bone and rotting pieces of animal meat stuck on your tree, and that's where you got a decorated evergreen tree from. That's the origin of the Christmas tree.
So think about that when you string popcorn and put it on the tree. What are you stringing?
Your tinsel and your little bows. The origin of that is little meat organs from animals. The best.
And then Santa riding through the sky. Did you get that one? Or Odin and the wild harvest, wild hunt?
Oh, no, I didn't get that one. Tell me about that.
So during Yule, Germanic people believed that they would see ghosts and supernatural occurrences happening more often than the rest of the year. And the wild hunt was one of these things.
Okay,
Procession of ghosts through the sky that were led by Odin, who bore a long beard and brought gifts to those who deserved them.
Oh.
And he would be out hunting for the wild boar.
Oh.
For these decorations, probably. I didn't see that there was decorations of their entrails.
That's.
But then they had the Christmas ham. That was still Germanic cultures. They would honor their gods with feasting rituals and involved sacrificing a wild boar.
Okay.
And that's where the Christmas ham comes from.
Very cool. That's very neat. Okay, so here's another one. The Yule log. Most of us think of a Yule log as a baked confectionery. That's like what is the word? A remoulade? No. I'm tired, everybody. I've been working a lot at night, and so my words are not working right. But the Yule log is like this baked, delicious, curly pastry cake type thing. Oh my god, my words.
I actually didn't know that. I always thought it was a piece of like a log.
Well, some people still celebrate it that way, particularly people who are more attracted to like the pagan belief. Like there's some people who will burn a Yule log as an offering to the Green Man, which we're going to have an episode about the Green Man. But originally, what they would do is they would cut down a whole entire tree. They would carve it with sacred symbols of protection and writings of offering, and then they would douse it with ale or wine, again as an offering to the tree. And then they would shove the whole thing into the hearth, starting at the tip, as much of it as would fit, and they'd burn it. And then as the tree burned down, they'd push it farther and farther into the hearth. So it's burning a little bit at a time over the course of several days as like a piece of, wood to burn and keep the hearth going, and B is a kind of offering to the tree and to do it in like a sacred way. And then also part of that tradition is they would save a piece of the Yule log and the ashes from the Yule log. The ashes were considered sacred. And then in the next year, when they did the next Yule log, they would have ashes and the piece of the old tree from the previous year with the new tree, so that year after year after year, it's the same tree being used, like to continue, like to tie back to the old days when it was first done the very first time. So that's where the Yule log comes from, which I thought was super cool.
We should talk a little bit about St. Nicholas, because here in the United States, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus are pretty much the same person, but in Europe and other places, they're different people. Because St. Nicholas actually was a saint that was in Turkey. So let's talk about there's stories of him performing miracles. There was the earliest miracle that they can recall with young Nicholas involved him walking through a town to study with his teacher, and he passed a poor woman with a withered hand, and he approached the woman, laid his hand upon her, prayed, made the sign of the cross, and her hand miraculously healed to its former self. That was one of the famous miracles of St. Nicholas. Another story is he once sailed to the Holy Land, and during the voyage, a mighty storm broke out around the ship. Unfazed, Nicholas knelt and prayed, and the storm subsided to the wonder of all the sailors. So he was there was a lot of stories of miracles and things for Saint Nicholas, which is what made him a very popular saint. It was said that even after he died, his bones were magical, and people would try to go and get his bones from where he was buried in the church in Turkey, so that they could have it as a good luck charm for their wars. And that a lot of kings and of the region would want to have a bone or an artifact from Saint Nicholas for that good luck, for that we're going to win this battle because we have this stuff. And people would try to steal it. But then it was an interesting story is that it was claimed to have been stolen by somebody, his bones. And then they went back and did some DNA testing and found, oh, nope, you got the wrong person. That wasn't Saint Nick.
So they just randomly got some other human bones.
They got some other person that was buried in the same church and didn't get the right one. And so he's probably still buried in Turkey.
Well, Saint Nicholas is Nicholas of, what is it, Myra, which is a part of, it's Izmir, Turkey now. Izmir, Turkey. So at the time it was Myra, and he is one of the dudes who was present at the Council of Nicaea with Emperor Constantine, which is kind of funny. So that means that this guy lived in 300 CE, and that's how far back this legend of Saint Nicholas goes. And yeah, I saw the stories of this saintly life that he lived, and he was very orthodox and he was very devout in his practice. And it sounds like he was a pretty good dude, if the stories can be believed. And so somehow, how did he end up getting conflated with Christmas?
Okay. There's another story we have to tell that I think is very important. There's a tale of a cannibal butcher.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a story of St. Nicholas. So one day there was 3 young children who were lost and hungry, and they spotted a butcher shop with a light coming from within. The children stepped into the butcher shop, announcing their predicament. Could the butcher please offer them some food and a place to rest until morning when they could find their way home? The butcher gazed around the shop at near empty counters. He'd been short on meat to sell, which is troublesome for any butcher. That's when the proprietor got an idea, and it was not a great idea. He welcomed the children inside, then produced his sharpest knife and cut them into pieces, placing their meat into a salting tub to sell to customers. And in his travels soon after, Bishop Nicholas found himself, because he was a bishop of the area, found himself drawn to the butcher shop. He walked into the building and sensed something was very wrong. He spied the large salting tub, observed the meat, and immediately knew not just what that was, but who that was. Nicholas placed his hand on the salting tub, prayed to God, and commanded, "Rise up, children." With that, the children were made whole and alive once again, and they were soon reunited with their families. So let's put a pin in that, because there's another story that kind of goes along with that. But that's one of St. Nicholas's kind of crazy stories, that he actually resurrected 3 children that were chopped up by a butcher.
That thing with the butcher, I used to study, like, long time ago, I studied Chinese history, and it was like my minor in college, which, whatever. So one of the books that we had to read was called Wild Swans. And there is a part of the book, like, that talks about this period of deep starvation because, and my brain's not working well, but the guy in charge at the time was basically a nut job who enacted all of these, like, processes and procedures. He was telling the farmers what they needed to do, and they were all really bad. Like, he thought that crop rotation was a terrible idea. And so he told him to stop crop rotating. And so eventually the soil was depleted and there were these incredible famines and people were literally starving in China. Like everybody, like the whole country was short on food. So what sometimes was happening, a lot of children went missing during those times. And suspiciously, also around that same time, a lot of butchers and meat markets were very well supplied with rabbit meat. And it was so sad. In the book Wild Swans, they specifically talk about one little girl who like went missing and how they found her clothes, which had been hand sewn by one of the family members and was very distinctive, behind this butcher shop. So they knew what had happened to her. It like fucked me up. So I absolutely 100% believe that probably happened. Did St. Nicholas actually revive the kids? I don't believe that. But why would you tell us such a story, JT? How is that relevant?
Well, now I see the Christmas connection, so
You do?
Yeah.
You see the Christmas?
Yeah. Clearly, it goes from there to Krampus to Santa.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think about that.
It goes to a different character, and let me see if I can find. It is along the lines of a Krampus style character.
It's not Belsnickel, is it?
No, but it's similar. Hold on one second.
Well, while you're doing that, I just want to say one thing. I did have a moment of like respect for the Puritans, because now we know all of this history about Christmas and where a lot of like these symbols came from and what they meant. Well, in the early times of the United States, I don't know, existing, these Christmas celebrations continued to persist in the public and, the general population. People were celebrating these celebrations, which were really Saturnalia and amalgamations of like Nordic partying with Christmas trees and whatever. And the Puritans knew that and said, hey, this holiday doesn't actually have anything to do with Christ. Like they were really wise to the fact that all of this was just pagan celebration disguised as Christian celebration. And in several places in the United States, it was pushed to be made illegal to celebrate Christmas because it wasn't Christian. And a lot of these churches and the preachers of these churches were telling people, don't celebrate this holiday. This is actually a celebration of Satan. And we're trying to like keep them separate. And I had a moment where I was like, oh, hey, they like knowingly were trying not to appropriate these holidays and bring it back to like a kind of purity, hence the Puritans. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I mean, I don't like what they're doing, but I do respect that.
So I found it. It's okay. So this comes from northern France and Belgium. There's a story of a butcher long ago who ran low on meat, so he abducted 3 lost children and slipped them into the back of his butcher shop, sliced them up, and placed their meat into the salting tubs. So that's where the St. Nicholas comes in. He's the one that found the kids and pulled them out, and then he tells the butcher, no more slicing up children. From now on, you will be my servant. We will call you Pierre Foutard. And Pierre Foutard translates to father whipper. And so he's similar to the Belsnickel.
Yeah.
He would beat naughty boys and girls into submission so that they can get back on the good and moral path and still get presents for Christmas.
Whoa.
So.
Whoa. That's very interesting.
Also kind of sounds a little bit like Krampus. If you're going to be naughty, I'm going to beat you or eat you, depending on how naughty you are.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Okay, so let's that's very cool. So let's circle back. So Krampus.
Circle back.
Krampus. His origins are not as old as I expected. I actually thought Krampus must surely be some kind of old pagan, animistic god or demon or djinn spirit or something. Like I thought for sure he must come from a much earlier time and was sort of incorporated in. But I couldn't, at least in this book, I couldn't find any any connection to that. He was actually fairly new as a creation, as a spirit.
Isn't there like, did he mention like the first writings of Krampus?
I mean, there is thought that Krampus might be a depiction of Pan, that he might have been the god Pan and it kind of had evolved. So Pan was depicted often as half man, half beast, complete with 2 cloven hooves and legs like a goat. Atop his head are the familiar goat horns. And he's the god of the wild, of shepherds and flocks. And he plays his flute. But
Well,
Pan...
I saw something in Britannica.
You did? What did you see?
Krampus was thought to have been part of pagan rituals for winter solstice. According to the legend, he is the son of Hel, the Norse god of the underworld.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I did see that.
Yes.
You're right. That's not in this book. I do remember reading that, though. And Hel,
And then-
H-E-L, not
Right.
H-E-L-L.
The Norse god of the underworld.
Despite the Catholic Church's efforts to ban him, he became part of their tradition. The creature and St. Nicholas are said to arrive on the evening of December 5th, Krampusnacht. And while St. Nicholas rewards nice children by leaving presents, Krampus beats those that are naughty with branches and sticks. In some cases, he is said to eat them and take them to hell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so it's super interesting. So part of like the thing that Belanger talks about in the book is that in the Bible, there's really not a lot of description of the devil, and he doesn't get a lot of ink. It's specifically what I think that's a direct quote. Belanger says the devil didn't get a lot of ink in the Bible. So like when early Christians were commissioning portraits and trying to create, imagery to portray the devil, they let the artists have a lot of leeway. As long as he was really scary looking, then it worked. And so what a lot of them would do is they would pull their inspiration from these other gods and these other, pre-Christian entities. So here's a direct quote. Krampus emerged from this Christian quagmire of devils and demons around the 12th century. As with any legend, he started small, first appearing in the remote villages and mountain towns where the concept of frightening creatures that haunt the highlands was already well understood. The name Krampus is derived from Krampen, the German word for claw. It's believed, it does say it in here, he's the son of Hel, H-E-L, the Norse god of, and isn't she a goddess? The Norse goddess of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't, to me, sound like specifically Krampus was a specific entity who has always existed. He was more inspired by some of these, except maybe he had existed for a long time as part of the pantheon of the Norse gods, and we just sort of lost some of that. I don't know. It's hard to say. I truly expected to have more history on Krampus than what we have, because it kind of sounds like he shows up in the 12th century. So, I mean, that's pretty late. I expected to first hear about this guy and this kind of concept from much, much earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, and something we didn't really talk about, the wreaths.
Oh, yeah?
Go back to that.
Okay.
Christmas wreaths in honor of the winter solstice, which is marked for the sun's return. Vikings created sun wheels. They were very much like the wreaths, but after lighting the candles, you would burn the entire thing and roll it down a hill to herald the coming of the sun. You'd have these fireballs going downhill.
That sounds so fun. Let's get drunk. Let's eat lots of good food. And then let's set a wheel on fire and roll it down a hill. That's...
I'm on board.
I want to do it.
Burning shit. I love it. Let it go.
In the icy cold, just like, woo! I bet it was so flippin' fun. I bet that was amazing. That's awesome, Cameron. Good find. Ooh, here's a fun thing. But because Krampus did look so much like the devil, and what the church was kind of creating the devil to be, the church did try to get rid of Krampus. And especially because Krampus is weird. Like the whole concept of it, I have trouble wrapping my mind around what the appeal is of this creature. But it seems like to the church, it seemed like people were glorifying the devil and glorifying the dark side of society. And the church didn't like that. They didn't want that glorification of the demon side of humanity. And so they tried to squash Krampus. And for a while, he pretty much did kind of disappear, but he survived in some small villages until finally he's kind of making a comeback now. But like, I mean, who is Krampus then? Like, what is Krampus? Do either of you want to like talk about what he actually is? Like, what's the tradition around Krampus?
Well, I used to hear that he was the elder gods coming to take revenge on the forgotten traditions.
Oh.
And that he would only be allowed to take naughty children. That was what I originally heard, but I didn't find anything supporting that.
Interesting. So it was just like a word of mouth thing that you had been told, but you couldn't find the research to support that?
It was originally, so I first heard about it from my Dutch friend, their mom, who is straight from Holland.
Yeah.
Said that that's how they celebrated that.
Oh.
And so if you were a bad child, they would dress up like some of their friends in like blackface and have them hide in your closet, and then they would break out and kidnap you.
Oh, what a fun tradition.
It happened to my friend, actually. They were kidnapped.
Oh, no! What could be more Christmassy than a fun little kidnapping of children?
Oh my gosh.
That
Just throw
sounds
them in a pillowcase and drag them out.
traumatizing. Oh, poor kids.
So it really wasn't until the 1800s that Krampus really grabbed on, especially in Austria, Bavaria, Slovenia, the Czech Republic. Even though Christianity tried to squash it, and a lot of, when Christianity tried to get an idea of what the devil looked like, they left a lot of the artistic creation of it to the artists that they.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a time where they were trying to figure out, okay, what does the devil look like? And they just let a bunch of artists make a bunch of pictures, and they were going to pick the best one. I don't know. That's kind of what his book talked about. But
he also talks about, and if I remember correctly, it's December 5th.
Yes. So it became a holiday in Europe where he began traveling with St. Nicholas on December 5th and 6th to offer consequences to the naughty. And he remained a mainstay of the holiday for several decades, right up until 2 world wars stole the attention of the masses. And then by the time World War II had ended, when Germany and Austria were dusting themselves off and rebuilding, a new icon had already pushed Krampus into the far corner, Santa Claus.
Right. So, okay. So the tradition was December 5th is Krampus's day. He's going to come out and he's going to kidnap all you bratty little monster kids. Mm-hmm. And so if you weren't good, Krampus is going to get you. He's going to take you away. He's going to eat you. All right. Then on the 6th, which isn't that like St. Nick's Day, or there is like a name for December 6th. There was like something.
I think so. Something like that.
Yeah. So that was the day that St. Nicholas would come, and he would then deliver presents to all of the remaining children. And of course, the idea was by then there are no naughty children left because Krampus ate them all. So if you want to be one of the good kids who's still alive on December 6th and then get some presents, don't be bad. Mm-hmm. That was, I guess, how we controlled
so glad
kids.
That you people haven't heard of St. Nicholas Day either. It's coming back, apparently.
Is it?
And I had never heard of it. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Where?
Yeah, you're supposed to bring presents and candy, and then you fill their shoes with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's coming back now here in Arizona.
Oh.
That's
interesting.
That's part of another tradition of a different Santa Claus style, or different. There's a couple of different ones, and I don't even know if we're going to have time to get through all of them in this session.
Many.
There's so many,
well, So
I mean,
December 5th, just real quick, Krampus Night is what it was called, and Krampusnacht
uh-huh.
in the German. Anyway, what were you going
And
to say?
Well, I mean, it's just since the advent of the internet and people finding out about Krampus more and doing, the idea of Krampus getting out there, it's now become kind of a mainstream celebration where people dress up as Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in what was it? Is he in Austria or?
I
God,
think it was Austria. The guy
yeah.
who makes the masks.
He makes
And he's
Krampus
got
masks and costumes, and they're not cheap. But even here in the United States, Krampus is starting to make a deal because he makes a lot of these costumes for people in the United States now, and people celebrate the Krampus Day, and they have parades on Krampusnacht.
Krampusschlauf is the Krampus run in this activity, which involves alcohol. People
Yes.
dress as creatures and parade through the streets, scaring spectators and sometimes chasing them.
Yes.
So
That's
the
in New
mask
England.
maker is Stefan Keudel of Hallein, Austria.
Yes.
And the masks he makes are actually extremely impressive. And I will be posting, or I have posted photos of that mask, or a photo of that mask on our Instagram. So if you wanted to see it. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
I mean, that's basically it. I mean, just, with the onset of, the way the world's going, there's these old celebrations are starting to come back, and people are really starting to, and they get into it. I mean, if you think about, what Comic-Con did for the whole cosplay industry,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically another form of that. You get to dress up and be somebody else. There's people that are, reserved on the outside, but when they get into this Krampus costume, they become this whole different person, and they let themselves go a little bit because they can hide behind the mask, and they can just be this thing that.
It reminds me of the original purpose of Saturnalia, or one of the original functions of Saturnalia. It's that steam valve. And I think even Belanger talks about this, wearing the Krampus mask, and Krampus himself is an expression of the darker side of humanity. It's that part of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge, yet still exists. And so perhaps for these people, having this moment, this period in time each year, to have that as a way to release that pressure of the darker side of who they are and be and experience fully that side of themselves. Maybe that's what the draw is.
Maybe. He does talk about the Krampus Society of New England. They have 300 members, and they get together to celebrate Krampus.
What up, Krampus Society? Maybe you could email us at wanderingcrowpodcast@gmail.com and let us know, why is this Krampus Society so important to you? Why do you dress up as Krampus and other demons each year? We'd really like to know. What is it that brings you to that? What do you get out of that?
And we've talked about this before too. There's the 2015 movie Krampus, starring Adam Scott and Toni Collette and David Koechner, and that kind of has made Krampus a little more global, or gotten his.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the society has been around a lot longer than the movie, but Krampus is a thing that's here to stay, and it's kind of a creepy thing. It's kind of a scary thing. But if you think about the origins of Krampus and where it came from, like you're in a dark area, it's snowy, it's cold. Your eyes are going to play tricks on you. You're going to see things. And that's where the ideas of all these evil entities are coming from, because it's an evil time of year for them, because it's so dark, because it's so cold, because it's a fight for survival back then.
Yeah. I would offer, if you recall, the whole point of Halloween is to celebrate and make offerings to the spirits during the thin time of the year, to ask the spirits not to kill them in the coming winter, right? Like, so for me, I think, is it that they were having their eyes play tricks on them, or truly is that the time of year when the demons and the devils and the entities had more freedom to walk the earth, and they were truly seeing things.
Maybe.
I mean, I tend to
Maybe.
lead more that way.
Yeah.
That is the time of year. And it's not just Krampus. Like there's also, Christmas is associated with ghost stories. Like you would tell, like there's even that song, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And then one of the lyrics is about there'll be ghost tales a telling and la 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 la, and I don't know, whatever. I don't know the whole song, but
Tales of
Tales of Ghost
Stories, Tales of the Glories of Christmases Long, Long Ago, something like that.
Yeah, there you go. So, like, that's a part of it, and I think it's partly because that's what happens during that time of year. Is there are more occurrences.
I wanted to bring up another tradition too that's Swedish, because I'm Swedish. We all have Swedish hair, and that's the tradition of Santa Lucia.
Oh, Santa Lucia. Okay.
And that's on December 13th, and it's a celebration to honor it's the Saint Lucia, and kind of what that is honoring is she that she wears a crown and has candles in the crown around her head that are lit, and so it's kind of to celebrate. It's this is around the winter solstice. It's to celebrate the bringing of light again, to bring we're going back to that time where it's going to get light again. She's there to save everybody from the darkness. But what I wanted to talk about, let's see, the origins of Saint Lucia. So there's the Saint Lucia of Syracuse. Syracuse, I think that's Italy.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Who died in Syracuse, Italy. And she died in 304. But in Swedish legend of Lucia was Adam's first wife. It was said that she consorted with the devil and that her children were invisible infernals. And the name may be associated with both Lux, Lux, light, and Lucifer, Satan. But its origins are difficult to determine.
That's exactly Lilith. Oh my gosh.
So that celebration, and I tried to dig deeper into that and wasn't able to get anywhere on that. But, that comes from the Swedish government and their explanation of Lucia. But we went to the Svea convention. Svea is a nonprofit organization in the United States that keeps Swedish traditions alive. And so they had a convention here on Saturday we went to, and they do the Lucia, and they have the women. It's generally the oldest child and the oldest daughter in the family dresses up in a white dress with a red sash, and then the crown of candles. Here they use electric candles now, but used to be actual burning candles. And she kind of parades through the area and usually has some sort of what do you call it? A goodie or a baked good or something like that. Generally, as like a saffron roll that she would give out as she's kind of goes through. So that's the tradition of Saint Lucia. So we do that, and as a Swedish people, we do it every year. We celebrate Saint Lucia, and we have our daughters dress up.
But why? Why are we celebrating the Italian equivalent of Lilith, who consorts with the devil? And
it's a Swedish tradition that they've kind of adopted.
But why? How did this happen? Why are we celebrating this individual?
It's light in her hair, which in practice means a crown of candles. Let's see. Let me get to the.
Which sounds super safe, by the way.
They have the Swedish celebrate midsummer, and they have the maypole and they dance around the maypole. They put it up and stuff, and so this is the opposite tradition of that.
Okay.
Lucia celebrations represent one of the foremost cultural traditions in Sweden, which is the clear reference to life in the peasant communities of old, darkness and light, cold and warmth. And Lucia is an ancient mythical figure with an abiding role as the bearer of light in the dark Swedish winters.
Huh. So she means something
So-
different than whatever her origin was.
Right.
Okay.
So the night treads heavily. So there's songs that talk about her, and so here's one of the songs. The night treads heavily around yards and dwellings, in places unreached by sun. The shadows brood. Into our dark house she comes, bearing lighted candles. Saint Lucia, Saint Lucia. And it's just a very popular tradition in Sweden to have her come, and they sing the songs, and she walks through the house, and it's generally children. Even the boys get into it. They dress up as what's called the Star Boy, where they have a star on a stick and a kind of like a dunce cap.
Okay.
A cone cap that they put on, and they wear white, and it's kind of a winter solstice celebration where they're bringing the light. They're bringing the light into the darkness.
Sol Invictus, bringing the sun back.
So
Okay.
that's a general explanation of it. I mean, we could go deeper, but we're not necessarily talking about that. But yeah, there's also stories of her where she was not very nice either, and would be mean to naughty children. But I didn't get too hard into that side of it. Unfortunately, I tried to, but didn't get there. She's mostly good, bringing light.
Yeah.
And saffron buds.
Saffron buds are very wonderful. Cameron,
Yeah.
were there any other things for this episode that you wanted to bring forward that were the most interesting to you, or the most?
Well, so we went over a lot of the, like, where Santa Claus came from.
Mhm.
Mistletoe. That's
mistletoe.
a pretty big Christmas one that we didn't talk about.
Tell me about it.
So in Scandinavia, Balder, the god of light and goodness, was slain by an arrow poisoned by mistletoe. This happened when his mother Frigga, what was it? She went around and she was so in love with her child. He was so beautiful. She asked everything not to kill him, and they all agreed, all except for one thing. And Loki went around and tried to figure out what that was. Eventually, he found out that it was a mistletoe. And they played this game with Balder where they would just tie him to a tree and just throw things at him. Loki showed up and gave them the arrow that was poisoned by the mistletoe, and that killed him.
Whoa.
And so when his mother Frigga cried for him, her tears fell on the red berries, turning them white, and the white berries became powerful enough to resurrect Balder.
Oh.
And that's a symbol of renewal and resurrection, and that's kind of where that comes from.
Very interesting. That's very interesting. The only thing that I truly know about mistletoe, because it does grow wild in Arizona, is it's a parasite, and it latches onto trees and grows onto the trees and sets roots inside of the branches and steals nutrients and stuff from the trees, and it can get big enough that it actually will, like, kill the tree. And so I remember learning as a kid, for some reason we selected this parasite as a symbol of, like, love and giving kisses to people. Stuff.
Well, it has to do with that death. Like you were talking about, there was the goddess, Cameron?
I forget what goddess it was. Oh, Frigg. His mother, Frigg.
Balder's mother,
So
Frigg, yeah.
she banned people from eating mistletoe, or it became a symbol. Like the only thing you were allowed to do underneath it was kiss.
Ah.
And that's where that comes from. That's where kissing under the mistletoe comes from. That whole story Cameron just told.
Oh, did you know that already, JT?
Yeah, that was in the book that you didn't get to. That was part of the book that you didn't get to, and I can't find which part it's with. It's with one of these Santa Claus style witches.
Oh.
One other thing we didn't talk about was the Christmas caroling. I don't think we brought that up in this episode.
No. I think we did
it's
talk
also
about
known
it
as-
somewhere.
The wassailing,
Yeah.
Old Norse and Anglo-Saxon origins. Traditionally, peasants would visit the feudal lords and sing songs in exchange for gifts and treats.
Mm-hmm.
This gives a new context for the line from the song, "We wish you a Merry Christmas. We won't go until we get some to bring some out here."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember that
So-
line.
to bring some out.
There
Yeah.
was a lot of begging going on all of these holidays. Because Halloween, there was also not wassailing, but there was a name for it. What was it? Mumming, maybe? Where you'd go
Yeah.
around and you'd ask people to, like, give me treats, please, or I'm going to just stay here. One of the things that I was most excited about to start the research on and then was extremely disappointed about is the Yule Cat.
The Yule Cat.
The Yule
What's a Yule Cat?
Yulekulturen. So the Yule Cat. Here's the basic story of the Yule Cat. The Yule Cat is this giant evil feline who will eat you unless you're wearing new clothes. So if you're wearing old clothes, when the Yule Cat comes around, it's going to get you. So everybody is encouraged to wear brand new clothes during Yule. And I was like, oh, what the hell is this story? Where does this come from? And it's actually super boring. So Grilla is this witch who also has kind of her own stories, and she's got her own like origin story and issue. And I think we're out of time, so I don't think we're going to be able to get to talk about her. But he's her
Darn it.
witch's familiar.
Yeah.
Sort of. He's like not necessarily her familiar, but he's like her companion, right? And he goes with her. And this is what he does. So he's a monster, comes down from the mountains, and that's it. He comes down from the mountains, and if you don't have new clothes, you either become or you get consumed by the Christmas cat. Now, here's where it comes from. In Scandinavia, they had this thing called the Christmas goat, which I didn't have a chance to research very further. But in Swedish, the word for goat is get,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no goats in Iceland. So as this tradition is traveling around, Icelandic people are hearing about the Christmas gets, the Christmas gets, the Christmas get, but they don't have goats, so that word is meaningless to them. But it sounds a lot like cat, the Icelandic word for cat. So they're like, a Christmas cat. And that's kind of where they think that this tradition came from. It was a goat that in the Icelandic culture got heard wrong and got turned into a cat. And so that's where the
Mhm.
Yule Cat comes from. And that's literally
Yeah.
all it is. The cat
Grilla
comes
from
and eats you if you're not
Yeah.
wearing new clothes.
Grilla comes from Iceland, and then she also
Why?
had children called the Yule lads.
Yeah, the Yule lads.
That's another. They come out and do different things during different times of the dark winter.
I don't
Which
know.
Iceland is very much steeped in the elves and different trolls and whatnot.
There's a lot of other characters. I think we're out of time, and there's a lot of other characters we didn't get a chance to talk about. So perhaps next Christmas we'll dive further into these other characters and we can talk about them. But we didn't talk about Belsnickel. We didn't
Mm-mm.
talk about Mary Lwyd. We didn't talk about Grilla. We didn't talk about, and Grilla looks horrible, by the way. We didn't talk about the Yule lads. And so there's an awful lot of stuff that we can still get into and talk about.
We
I
didn't
also
even
learned
talk
about-
about the origin of Santa Claus.
Oh, no, we didn't.
No.
When we talked
I
about
mean,
St.
between
Nicholas.
Saturn
Like the
and
modern-
Odin,
No, like the
Oh, the-
modern Santa Claus.
the drunkard with the sleigh driven by turkeys.
No, even more
What?
even more so than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was
Um,
my favorite one. He started out. They had Christmas cards that I've seen pictures of where he's a drunk and he's being driven by a sleigh of turkeys, wild turkeys.
Well, there's a whole
mean-
Swedish song about "Hey Tumta Gubba."
Yeah.
It's like that's hey drunk Santa Claus. Let's raise a glass. Let's get drunk
That's
together.
fantastic. I mean, he's probably good at parties.
I mean,
Um,
that's the thing, though, because it starts in Saturnalia, which was this party of excess and drunken libations, right? So, like, they're pulling
Wild guy.
from that old tradition of the drunkenness, and that's what it was. And there
I mean,
are
sometimes
postcards.
Sometimes you get
Stroking
drunk at a
Santa.
party and you end up on a sleigh with the
Bunch of
turkeys. And
turkeys.
it's fine.
I can't imagine that would go very far or fast. I feel like the
And
turkeys
then
would
you-
be so disorganized.
And we
then you
didn't
throw
even
a flaming ball of fire downhill. It's fine.
we didn't even talk about the Christmas cryptid or Christmas Bigfoot. Carcancolus.
No.
Carcancolus is the Christmas Bigfoot.
Is
Oh
that
my
like the
God.
abominable snowman?
It's he tunnels under the ground in the shadows of Siberia, Greece, Albania, Bosnia, Cyprus, Turkey, Bulgaria, and he makes his way to town on Christmas night. So he's another one. He's a shapeshifter.
You know what he looks like to me? He looks like Wendigo or Skinwalker.
Wendigo. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, but he's a shapeshifter, so
Which just
he could
fits.
like
he
a
could
Wendigo.
end up being a old aunt that you don't want to come to the door with some soup, and you think it's her, and you open the door, and nope, it's this guy, and he kills you, or something like that.
She's so nice you can't
Does
say
something to
no.
you. I don't think he kills you.
Caraconculus.
Caraconculus.
Dang.
But just
Oh my gosh.
the commercialization of Santa Claus, like the very first modern drawing of Santa Claus came out in Harper's Weekly in 1881, where he's in red, the fat Santa with the white beard. And then the next time that there's any sort of Santa Claus in advertising is actually Coca-Cola in 1931.
Whoa.
During the Depression, during Prohibition, they wanted to boost their sales, and they used this idea of Santa Claus to boost the sales of Coca-Cola. So, and then people started seeing, oh, they're using Santa Claus to boost their sales. We're going to do the same thing. They don't own Santa Claus. We can use him, and started using him as advertisement. But that was the first real use of Santa Claus as a marketing scheme, was Coca-Cola in 1931.
And didn't
Genius.
Coca-Cola used to be made with real cocaine?
Yes.
Or is that a myth? Like, so here we go, Santa Claus holding your cocaine drink for the season.
I'm not 100% sure
Everything
if that's
about
a myth
Santa
or
is
not,
just
but
so amazing.
I think they,
You don't know
yeah,
the
it was back in the
cocaine thing?
50s. They had to change the. I don't think it was a lot of cocaine. I think it was part of cocaine. I don't know.
Just a smidge.
I'd have to
Just
research
enough
that
to
again.
give it a zing.
First one's free.
That's hilarious, Karen. Okay,
But yeah,
I found
there's-
it. Ready? Early
Yes.
Coca-Cola, the original formula contained a significant amount of cocaine, with an estimated 9 milligrams per glass.
Damn it! Why couldn't
That'll
I
get
live
you
back
going.
then?
In 1903, Coca-Cola stopped using fresh coca leaves in its formula. In 1904, they started using spent leaves, which are leftover leaves from the cocaine extraction process. And they did contain trace amounts of cocaine at that time. So significantly less cocaine.
Okay.
In 1929...
Now with less cocaine.
Yes. That's the best marketing gimmick ever. 80% less cocaine. By 1929, Coca-Cola was finally using a cocaine-free coca leaf extract.
9 out of 10 cardiologists agree. It's better for you.
What about the 10th one, though?
Well,
He's a little
He's
hard to
hooked on
talk
this
to. He's
stuff.
very fast paced.
he's very busy. He's doing other things
He-
right now.
Talks a mile a minute, that guy.
Dying. That's definitely staying in.
I would just like to say one thing. Like, if I grew up believing there was this hoofing goat guy with a bunch of branches that was going to whip my ass if I wasn't good, I think I would be pretty good most of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see this pic? I can't wait. Cameron, I'm going to show you this, and I'm definitely putting this on the Instagram. Thank you, Mr. Belanger, for finding all these fantastic pictures. So this one was in reference to Belsnickel. He would literally tie kids up to a tree and whip their asses with switches if they were bad. Where are you? Hold on. So, like, there's just so much. Jeff Belanger did an excellent job. This is a really cool book. Lots of really neat pictures, that like real old pictures. Here, Cameron. This was like a postcard, I think.
That's Belsnickel. But the thing I want to point out is like
Something you would send your relatives.
Grilla, like a lot of these characters are very similar.
Yeah.
In what they do, like they're very similar in trying to keep kids in line all year long. Like, hey, you got to be good all year, or come December 5th, you're gonna get put in a basket and then taken up into the hills and getting eaten by a goat, dude. Like, what?
Or your mom's friends in blackface.
I mean, all we had to contend with is whether or not we would get a piece of coal.
Yeah, we've definitely lightened up. Well, what's interesting about that, now that you mention that, I mean, who lived in the mountains? What did Lilith promise? She promised to destroy mankind, one child at a time, and she was going to annihilate our children and kill them and eat them and turn them away from God. So maybe in some way this all does kind of come back to those old stories and those old beliefs, is that just that idea never quite left the human consciousness, and it expresses itself in different ways in even now in our modern celebrations of things.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, and then a lot of these, with the onset of the internet and, Hollywood and stuff, a lot of these traditions are starting to come back.
Yeah.
And people are starting to embrace them and celebrate them. And I mean, if we want to go to New England and celebrate
Party
Krampus,
with the Krampus people.
We totally can. And if you're not careful and you're in the Krampus parade, you can get hit by the swatches of the what did you call it, the branches. They'll smack you with them. The switch.
Yep.
The switch. Yeah.
Ugh.
So.
All right. Well, this was fun. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to do more episodes and more research and look further into some of these guys. But I think this concludes our Krampus Christmas episode.
So
all right.
This
Any
was a good
parting
one.
thoughts?
Turned out.
Huh? What were you going to say, Cameron?
Oh, I said this was a good episode. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah. JT, what were you saying?
I'm saying if you live up north and in the snow and it's dark, watch out. If you see a dude with horns and hooves and a switch, you better make sure you're good.
If you see Aunt
He's coming back.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Actually, I kind of want to learn more about this Cornucopia guy, because he looks just like a flippin' Wendigo.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what other... I'm going to have to look that up more. All right. So, murderers, we had fun. We hope you had fun. Really interesting conversations and a lot of stuff that I never knew, especially as pertains to Christmas garland. That was
very interesting.
Mind-blowing and kind of gross. And yeah.
I don't use garland.
Neither do I. Well, I actually have used it around my banisters and stuff, but not on the tree.
I've used ribbon draped on the tree, so.
Oh my God. And most garland is red. A metallic, crinkly red, like shiny blood.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I've been thinking about that every time now.
Every time. Now we know. The more you know. Do-do-do. Okay.
Don't forget, murderers, to like and subscribe and listen to everything else.
And share with your friends. And check out the Instagram. We're going to share a lot of really cool pictures from this episode.
Yes.
We've got a website now. What is it called? TheWanderingCrow.com. Is that correct?
Yes. And I'm going to dress it up tonight.
Cool.
Because we have all the sections for it. It just needs to be edited, really.
Oh, okay. Very
Great.
good. Very good.
And if you have any stories of Krampus, email us. wanderingcrowpodcast@gmail.com.
That's it. And join our Facebook group and get into the conversation. We don't have a lot going on there yet. Not a lot of active users, but it could be. And it could be a lot of fun.
Could be fun.
And thank you to all of our loyal listeners, Serbia, Nigeria. I see you guys. Canada, I see you guys. And there are new people in South Africa. I see you guys. We've got a Mexican listener now. I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Mexico. And thank you, all of my Mexican friends. So exciting. We're on every continent of the globe now, and we can't wait to make more fun, exciting content for you. All right. So with that said, Merry Christmas. I hope Krampus doesn't visit you, unless you're into that, in which case I hope Krampus does visit you.
God Jul in Swedish.
What did you say?
Eat me, Krampus, Daddy.
God Jul. Happy Krampus Nacht.
Krampus Nacht. All right, murderers. We'll talk to you next time on The Wandering
Crow.
Crow.
God damn it.